Don't worry, I got.
The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
Matt Duchene is off the market. Ryan Donato off the market. Pius Suter still on the market. Man, oh man, are the Canucks re-signing superstar Pius Suter?
Your Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
A happy game day and welcome to another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, co-host of Locked On Canucks and also a Canucks writer currently with Daily Hive Vancouver. Before we dive into the show, we got to thank you and you for tuning into Locked On Canucks because it is your Canucks every damn day. And we're not here without you tuning in. So if you like what we're doing, go share this episode with your friends. Help spread the word. Help Kyle and I keep talking to you and you for eternity, baby. Coming up on today's episode, the NHL Stanley Cup Finals might have just wrapped up, but NHL general managers, they already getting busy. Your turn, Patrik Allvin. With a couple of potential centers off the market, we now have their contracts in place. What does it mean for Pius Suter and the Vancouver Canucks? And will the Canucks pay superstar Pius Suter the money he deserves? Kyle will also tell you why he thinks Pius Suter is, in fact, a superstar. We'll get into other big moves the Canucks potentially could make, and we'll talk a little bit about the Abbotsford Canucks as they enter Game 4 tonight. Before we get to all that, let me introduce my co-host. He's somewhat into the Abbotsford Canucks. Kyle Bowen, what's going on, brother?
Yeah. You know, I appreciate the people of Abbotsford. I've met a lot of nice people from there. Actually, one of the dudes who makes some incredible jackets for like the Frankie Collective out of Vancouver. I feel as if one of the main guys is from Abbotsford. I met him once, and very talented individual. Okay, so shout out to Abbotsford. Best of luck tonight. Beggsy in the building, and yeah, Pius Suter is a superstar. The Canucks need to sign this guy. Because I got to start putting him in the sentence, right? The Canucks are really going to lose Besser, Miller, and Suter in a span of 13 months, and Nikita Zadorov. Like, when did we get used to not keeping good players? Right? And yeah, he's a superstar. IMO. In the playoffs, I feel as if I saw a really effective player. And in the playoffs, he's one of the guys that could have, done it for Florida. He could have won with Florida. Lundell territory? I don't know. But Florida had 9 players with over 15 points in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I feel as if they had 9 forwards, if I'm correct. I could be wrong on that. Maybe it's 8. Pius Suter could get the job done in the playoffs too. He could be an effective player for like 100 games a season minimum because he's solid. He's good. And okay, superstar might be an exaggeration, but Trevor, can we stop just losing good players for nothing?
Yeah, and I mean, look, the Canucks, kept Besser and Suter as their own rentals, more or less. Like, that was the mentality at the time, because they were in the thick of the playoff race, and making the playoffs matters when you got Quinn Hughes on your hockey team. But obviously, it was a very short-sighted decision, and it's going to look very short-sighted if they don't keep at least one of those 2 players. But hey, at least they kept a Derek Forbort, am I right? Look, I think between the two, it does seem more likely that the Canucks keep Pius Suter. And again, with contracts today, Kyle, I'm kind of curious to talk about whether or not Pius Suter's value went up or down, because I think the initial reaction is that, of course, his value's gone up. You got a couple extra guys off the market, right? Ryan Donato re-signs in Chicago 4 years, $4 million a season. Matt Duchene signs a sweetheart deal in Dallas, 4 years, $4.5 million for a season for a guy who just had 80-plus points. Now, Duchene, a bit of a different category. He's made his money. He's happy where he is. He's not looking to break the bank. Pius Suter is going to be in a different category, right? Criminally underpaid over the last 2 seasons. He's going to be looking to get his money. But you do have a guy in Ryan Donato who had 30-plus goals last season and signs for $4 million a season. That maybe could bring the price of Pius Suter down a little bit. But Kyle, do you think the signings today, and maybe we'll throw Fabian Zetterlund out there as well, very similar points per game to Pius Suter. He re-signs in Ottawa 3 years, $4.275 million a season. Do these signings at all impact Pius Suter's value, whether it increases his value or maybe even helps the Canucks get a little bit of a discount here?
Well, are any of those guys one of the best penalty killers in hockey?
No, none of them. Not even close.
Yo, there's yeah, like everyone says it, right? The Swiss Army knife thing about Pius Suter. But I'll just keep going back to this. The guy's an effective player. I've seen enough. And again, I'm not a nerd. Trevor's a nerd. But when we did sign Pius Suter a couple summers ago, people were really surprised that it took that long for that guy to sign. And people were surprised that he signed for that cheap because, if you look at the AFP analytics and the athletic player card and the payment model that they created with their chat GBT data, he was supposed to get paid way more than whatever he got with Vancouver. I feel like this guy's like, he's underrated, underappreciated. And he's a guy who can produce offense, but I've seen him on the penalty kill long enough. He's defensively sound. He's a smart guy. Again, an effective hockey player. And again, I got the Florida, what would you call it? Am I having an affair with the Panther? Right? You ever have one of those, Trevor? I just think that this guy is a perfect guy for a successful playoff environment. Okay. Again, I think a big reason why the Canucks got to round 2 of the playoffs last year was because of Pius Suter, not just having a game-winning goal in round 1 or the series-winning goal in round 1 against Nashville, but being able to replace Elias Pettersson in that series as well. Like, this guy, he's quality, man. He's a good player, and we saw it in the regular season too when the Canucks were still in it at game 75 and game 76. Excuse me. It's because Pius Suter was playing like he was 86 overall. Good hockey player, man. And Trevor, take it away. I'll say it again. I just don't want to lose another good hockey player for nothing. I think it's such bullshit for an organization that hasn't made the playoffs for so many years, and now they want to keep Quinn Hughes. Look, you took the chance in not trading Besser and Suter. You got nothing. You got nothing for those guys. Now you don't have the extra 4 picks, the extra 3 picks to package with the prospect, so you don't have to be forced to give up Lecker Mackey. Dude, you did all that. You might as well keep one of them. And, dude, Pius Suter could be the guy. And Donato, 30 goals, $4 million. Duchene did his thing, 4.5 with the tax discount, BS. But, like, if Suter wants 4.5, you give it to him. 100%.
Yeah, I completely agree, Kyle. I think at this point, if you can get Pius Suter for under $5 million, I think you got to heavily consider re-signing the guy because of the value he brings throughout your lineup, right? I mean, we've seen this guy play from 4th line center to 1st line center, be an effective top 6 winger, be elite on the penalty kill. And I do wonder if NHL teams, and again, once he hits unrestricted free agency, you got 32 teams who you sign him, right? So that changes the dynamic. But I do wonder if guys will still undervalue him a little bit, just because you look at the goals this season, his shooting percentage was pretty high. Like, there's a possibility of regression. Look at his skating stats. And I actually just pulled up his skating stats as you were talking, Kyle. Literally one of the slowest skaters in the NHL.
Yeah.
Right. And it just doesn't matter because of his defensive instincts and his hockey IQ. He just knows where to be on the ice, which is a huge thing.
Sam Reinhart's one of the slowest players in hockey too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. I mean, as long as your hockey IQ is high, it can mask other deficiencies in your game. So yeah, I do wonder if there is a team that's willing to pay Pius Suter like $5.5 million a season.
Oh, no.
Because if it's around the $5 million mark and you're the Vancouver Canucks, I do think you got to consider signing the guy. I mean, look, we're going to see some crazy contracts here in free agency. I think it kind of started with, Trent Frederick, 8 years, $4 million a season for a guy who had 1 goal and 4 points in the playoffs or whatever it was, right? Some of the deals signed today, like, honestly, were pretty good value. Zetterlund, Duchene, Donato. The Vancouver Canucks last season, I mean, they had the benefit of having a good team, but they got guys to sign for cheap, right? Every single one of the guys they signed, Dakota Joshua, prior to free agent, I should say, but Dakota Joshua, Teddy Bluger, Tyler Myers, they all took discounts relative to market. I'm not sure if they're going to have the same leverage to do that here with Suter again. But man, oh man, I do think, of Brock Besser and Pius Suter, I think the game plan for the Canucks has to be, you absolutely need another bona fide top 6 forward. And if you keep Pius Suter, maybe get another, middle 6, top 6 piece. I think that's probably the most realistic game plan for the Vancouver Canucks. Because at least if you have to acquire 3 of those guys, if you have to replace Besser and Suter and acquire another guy, that becomes pretty tough. If you re-sign Suter and just have to get 2 guys, path becomes a little easier for the Vancouver Canucks. Of course, they still have to make the cap work in some way, shape, or form. But Pius Suter, again, if you get him under $5 million, he's going to be pretty damn good value for you.
Yeah. And again, now you're putting him in that sentence, right? With like Besser, Miller, Suter. I know I keep bringing up Miller, but I'm just looking at the lineup now. I'm not even just looking at the top 6. I'm looking at the top 9, and obviously it's a GM's job to find guys at value contracts, just like they did with Suter, to replace guys like Suter if they leave the lineup. But there's already so much other work to be done. And I feel as if it's not going to be an 8-year deal. I mean, that's another thing I think we saw with like Donato and company, right? Like whether the dollars are the same with the years, like I feel like there's going to be less money at the finality of this contract than we actually thought. And I was thinking about this too, like, and again, I don't know how much Pius Suter fits into this equation, because he's actually like just solid, and I just compared him to like a poor man's Lindell, or however you pronounce his name on Florida. Lundell, same shit. Anyways, I wonder if a player lacks physicality in like their DNA, I wonder if those guys don't get the extra money that we all see flying around during this time, just because Florida's kind of changed the way hockey is, successful hockey is understood. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wonder.
It could be possible, buddy. It could be possible. I mean, look, we
Look at
talked
Trent
about it being a
Frederick, right?
copy-paste league.
How did Trent Frederick? You just barely played him against Florida. You lost to them. I know maybe Stan Bowman's a dumbass. I don't know, but this guy's getting, now it's going to be like 3.5, in between 3.5 to 4 years, 8 years. Like, really? Like 31 goal scorer Donato got the same amount as money per year? Oh, because
And
he's
half
Trent
the
Frederick.
term.
Yeah, think about that. And it's because he's probably like a gritty guy.
Yeah, well, Stan Bowman was known for, giving guys too much term and too much money with the Blackhawks. Thankfully, had the core in place where it didn't really matter. But yeah, that was a bit of a head scratcher for sure coming out of Edmonton. But in terms of term for Pius Suter, yeah, I think probably 4 to 5 years is what you can expect, right? Pay him into his early 30s, and I think he's got the IQ to make up for it, because a lot of guys, you worry about their speed diminishing, all that stuff, and I mean, Suter's already pretty slow as it is. So I guess you could glass half empty say that's a risk, but I think he uses his brain to be creative and productive no matter where he is in the lineup. So I think that's a contract that's likely going to age well for your Vancouver Canucks. So let us know in the comments, should the Canucks re-sign Pius Suter, bar none, as long as the deal pays him less than $5 million per season. On the other side, let's talk a bit more about big moves the Canucks could potentially make. JJ Paterka in the news recently. Jason Robertson, I wrote about the Canucks getting him for Daily Hive. We talked about it, but let's revisit that. The possibility of getting Jason Robertson to the Vancouver Canucks. We'll get to Game 4 of your Abbotsford Canucks in your comments as well here on Locked On Canucks.
We got some breaking news. Sorry, Patrick Johnson just revealed the trade offer for Marco Rossi, so we're gonna get to that in a couple seconds.
Oh, okay. Let's go, buddy. All right, we'll be back here on Locked On Canucks. All right, man, oh man, the show's about to get real nutty because we're shouting out our friends over at Wonderful Pistachios. Are you looking for the snack that's both delicious and nutritious? It's time to crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts, baby. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller for longer. After my ball hockey game last night, Kyle, we're chugging beers in the dressing room, and I'm going home in the car, and I got my Wonderful Pistachios, just stuffing those nuts in my mouth as I drive, man. Nothing like a mouthful of nuts, baby. And you know me, I love the no shells variety. Just pop those naked nuts right in my mouth. Kyle Bowen, more of a gentleman, likes the teas. He likes the in-shell options because they are also a classic favorite. So whatever nuts you shove in your mouth, make sure they're the nuts from Wonderful Pistachios, and get snacking and get cracking today with a snack that packs the protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more.
Shout out to those nuts. People, we back doing this, and that's talking about your Vancouver Canucks. And yeah, let's just get straight into it. Patrick Johnston, friend of the show. The dude's got the inside knowledge. Okay, for real. I trust this guy. Guy feels like my uncle. I trust him. You ever trust your uncle, Trevor? I trust Uncle Patrick. Okay, so he's saying that the Canucks offered up the 15th overall pick in next week's entry draft, plus a player. Okay, he doesn't know if the player is on the roster or a prospect, but Bill Guerin is after an NHL player rather than a prospect. Bill said, yeah, just why was I going to call him Bill Simmons? Bill Guerin wants more. He wants more, and remember, man, it's ironic how we're talking about Pius Suter. This sentence is very true. I'm telling you, it's true. Do not deny this. Because the Canucks didn't trade Pius Suter or Brock Besser at the deadline, we're going to lose out on a lot of trades. I would say 99.9% of the trades that people are going to make involving some quality players.
Short-sighted movements by your Vancouver Canucks. And again, so much hope for these guys in the early days, man. It's a shame that we've come here. They should have stockpiled the assets, but that's revisionist history at this point. Yeah, Kyle, if the Minnesota Wild are looking for a roster player, which roster player are you comfortable trading off the Canucks to attach the 15th overall pick to give to the Minnesota Wild?
Marcus Pettersson. What? Why are you laughing at me, man?
It's funny. Well, we just had the episode, was it 2 days ago, talking about Marcus Pettersson being probably the least likely trade candidate. I mean, I think for us, every day we talked about it. Might make the most sense to trade him because of what you have coming on the left side of your defense.
Mm-hmm.
And as a position of strength, man, you could, Marcus Pettersson is a nice player to have. But I think the optics of that deal, I just think there's no way the Canucks are doing that.
Okay, can you do me a favor and look at Minnesota's left side? I feel like that's you got to be savage. I know we just signed this guy, and that could ruin some trust. You just got traded to Vancouver. You signed an extension before your new deal actually kicks in, you get traded. But remember, Florida traded Jonathan Huberdeau, right? They traded Huberdeau after 112, 100, whatever, how many points he had. And they also traded Timothy Weegar, Tomias Weegar, Mackenzie Weegar. Okay, Mackenzie Weegar. The guy's a great player. You have to trade. You have to trade a lot to get a lot. Yeah. You have to trade a lot to get a lot. And I know we all love Marcus Pettersson too, but you're talking about a center, right? And the Canucks need help. They might lose Suter. They lost Miller. Filipino, you just don't know. So you got to pay to give. And if Minnesota could use Marcus Pettersson, boom.
Yeah, my thought right now is probably a bit of a tough fit there. So they have Jonas Brodin's their top pairing left shot defenseman. Jacob Middleton, who they really like, spent a lot of time playing with Brock Faber last season, would be their second pairing defenseman. And then Z Buim, the prospect, one of the best prospects in the NHL, who played NHL games last season for the Minnesota Wild in the playoffs. Is their number 3 on the left side. And they got John Merrill and Declan Chisholm, UFA and RFA as depth right now. So I think Marcus Pettersson is a bit of a tough fit. Kyle, do you think I'm trying to think of other forwards in the Canucks roster that could be traded? And I also think Pettersson in the 15th for Rossi is kind of steep considering you got to sign that guy too.
DP,
but let's look at
Marcus Pettersson. Sorry, Marcus Pettersson, the 15th overall pick is too much. So 2 first-round picks essentially for Marco Rossi. It's too much for Marco Rossi.
I would say that's a little rich. I mean, you're gonna have to attach. I mean, again, you look at the Kevin Fiala trade. It was Brock Faber in a first, right? So, Tom Lander in a first for Rossi. I still think that even that's a bit too rich. But as the report says, they're looking for NHL players. They just acquired David Jiricek, so they probably don't need another young right shot defenseman. Let's go through some names in the Canucks, like Dakota Joshua, Connor Garland, Nils Höglander, Drew O'Connor. Do you think any of those guys, are you comfortable trading them, and do they even get the deal done?
Of course. I just assumed that I just assumed that Bill Guerin would want a lot for a 60-point center who's 23 years old. I know he's team controlled and is lacking a contract, but I didn't go to Nils Höglander or Dakota Joshua. If they can get Marco Rossi for Nils Höglander in a first, they're gonna do it. they're gonna do it. Like, but I just feel like Bill Guerin obviously wants way more. Look, because you gotta look at both those guys. Like, just
Bill Guerin also likes his big boys too.
okay, Joshua. All the credit to him. I'm really excited to see him play next year. But if he had more stats on the table this year, I know he went through a lot. Like, then I would believe that Bill Guerin would view him as like a super asset in a trade involving a 60-point center who's played a handful of games in the NHL. You know. But Dakota Joshua is a guy that was good for 1 year.
Yeah, I mean, he was good in his first year, but it was, he was basically almost like an NHL rookie, basically, right? He had the 30 games or whatever with St. Louis. It was his first season as a full-time NHLer, but he was very good in that first season. Yeah, I mean, I think the only guys that potentially move the needle in that trade is probably Connor Garland, right? Because Nils Höglander in the 15th,
Yeah.
I'm not sure Minnesota's doing that. Drew O'Connor and Dakota Joshua, like Minnesota likes their big boys, right? That's the reason why they don't like Marco Rossi. Connor Garland's a bit different because he plays a lot bigger than he is. But even let's have that conversation. Connor Garland and the 15th for Marco Rossi. Would you do it, and is that fair value? So I think that's pretty damn close to fair value. Maybe even a bit of an overpay by the Canucks.
Yeah, because Garland's really good.
Mm-hmm.
He's an effective player. Like, he's a puck possession player. Another guy who would do well in Florida. I know he's smaller, but he wins board battles because his effort levels it's crazy. It's crazy. He's an effective player. He's a net positive type of player, man. Garland in the 15th for Marco Rossi. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm seeing if I can get another first for Garland if they're really going to trade him, and then like trying to just make a super trade instead of like still going down the risk route with Marco Rossi again. Guy gets demoted to the 4th line in a playoff series. You know what I'm saying? Like who was the number 1 center for Minnesota? Pierre-Luc Bouchard or whatever his name was. What was that old Minnesota? Mark Funard? Mark Funard?
Yeah, Mark Funard was the guy.
You know what I'm saying? That's too risky for Marco Rossi.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. And the 15th is still pretty steep, right? But you got to attach something to that to make it, worth the while for the Minnesota Wild. And a lot of it does come down to cap too. Like, would they consider? They don't want to pay Marco Rossi $7 million. Like, do they consider a guy like Drew Connor or Dakota Joshua along with the 15th overall pick? I mean,
probably.
I don't think Minnesota's got a deep prospect pool. Like, they don't really need the 15th overall pick. Like, so I get the report that they want roster players. And in terms of the Garland trade, like, honestly, when I think of if the potential of trading Connor Garland, I agree, Kyle. You got to shoot bigger. Like, I would look at a potential Jason Robertson deal as the type of trade where it makes sense to move on from Connor Garland. And, we talked about on the show and just kind of revisit when I talked about for Daily Hive. The Robertson deal, I think there's something to be there between the Canucks and Dallas if Robertson's available, based on the fact that, Dallas doesn't have a 2026 first rounder. The Canucks could offer that. They probably want a roster player like Garland or Nils Höglander, and they're lacking people on the right side of their defense. So Philip Hronek, Tom Willander come to mind. So, a 2026 first, Garland and Willander, do you think that gets it done for Jason Robertson? And would you do it?
Garland, next year's first, and Willander? Yeah, of course you do that. But Dallas is not doing that.
You don't think so? It's pretty close to fair value, no? I mean, like, you're basically looking for about 80% of the Mikko Rantanen trade, which was 2 firsts, 2 thirds, and Stankoven. So almost like a first round talent. I mean, look, Garland's a roster player that they can plug and play right now. The 2026, an unprotected 2026 first from the Canucks perspective is risky, but that's valuable to the Dallas Stars.
True.
Tom Willander, one of the best deep prospects in hockey, a guy who could feasibly be on the right side sooner rather than later.
Yeah, that's a lot of value considering the Canucks are like a Quinn Hughes injury away from being a lottery team. Considering like we don't know about their goaltending and we don't know about Pettersson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean,
I think you may want to put some protections on that first, but I mean, that's where the real value comes in that trade.
The only protection, like, yeah, this is the number 1 overall pick. We get it back. Trevor, I'm sorry to be depressing, but this just goes back to like not trading Suter and Besser. It will always go back to that. And this would have been, and it could still be based on a miracle. And we're waiting for the Abbotsford to finish their run, right? Trevor like, he's been hearing, he told us like, oh, maybe they're waiting for the finals to be over for like a lot of trades to happen. But I just feel like we're gonna lose the arms race with the big guys, whether it be Paterka, Rossi, Robertson, because bro, we just didn't move correctly. We weren't looking for assets. Now I'll go to this comment before we get to break because it's involved in the same subject. Shout out to Mike. Heedle in the 15th overall pick for Rossi.
Yeah, Heedle's a guy I started to think about more as we have this conversation.
I forget about him. I forget that he plays for the Canucks sometimes. I'm not gonna lie. I would do that 100%.
I would do that too. Yeah, I think it's just I obviously we really like Heedle as a player. Like he's got great flashes to his game. The injury risk is big. I wonder if Minnesota would take that gamble.
I don't think so. I think that is the deal that Guerin is like, yo, come on, because the Canucks used a similar package to get Josh Norris. Now Rossi, Norris, again, time will tell, right? But I feel as if that was the offer, and that's the highest they're going, because you just cannot give up Lecker Mackey in the 15th for Marco Rossi or Willander in the 15th. But since the Canucks don't have, again, a surplus of assets, courtesy of keeping Brock and Suter, that's like their weapon, right? Their weapon of choice to push the needle in their top 6. That's the one that's going to get other teams excited, not Heedle in a first, but they're definitely trying to get people to bite on Heedle in a first.
Yeah, I honestly think if that's the case for Rossi, like you're better off shooting high for like an elite top line winger. Like Jason Robertson, I think would be choice number 1. Heard some talk about he's not the best stylistic fit, but I just think Robertson, again, he makes everyone around him better. Just look at the numbers. JJ Paterka, again, another guy in the news. Apparently the Canucks are interested in him. That was reported today. Like, again, if you're going to pay steep price for like that super price for Rossi, I wonder if you pivot to getting an elite winger and re-sign Pius Suter. You hope Philip Heedle can play up to a 2C, but Pius Suter in a pinch can play 2C for your team. So I wonder if that's the avenue for the Canucks if the price ends up being that steep for a player like Marco Rossi.
Yeah. We're nerding out, bro. It's getting there, Trevor. July 1st. Happy birthday to my girl. But she knows the deal, man. I spent more time with Free Agent Frenzy than her. She's loyal to me, and I'll be doing the same on July 1st. So, yeah. Where am I going with? Okay, Trevor, can you just shut me up, please? Because I don't want to get into trouble.
All right, okay. You're listening to Locked On Canucks. We'll be back on the other side here on You Know It, Locked On Canucks.
People, we back doing this, and that's talking about your Canucks. Doing it all, okay? We're writing a lot. We're in a group chat down below. You can read the group chat on Substack. Trevor, let's update it today. I'll bump out the article tomorrow, but let's text later today about all of this, man. My mind is fascinated right now. We also got an open group chat, okay? Join the Discord, link in bio as well. And we don't use Twitter a lot. I feel as if anytime I do use Twitter is to shit talk the Oilers or send Trevor stuff that we should talk about today. And Trevor, can you do me a favor and open up your Twitter? Because I did send you some fancy stat report card stuff on Kirill Butter Chicken Kuryatsev. And supposedly this guy's the next Gustav Forsling.
There we go, man. We've been looking for the next Gustav Forsling for a while. We thought it was Eric Brandstrom. We struck out on that. Maybe it's Kirill Kuryatsev, man.
Yeah, there you go. So, like I said, I sent you about to swear there. I sent you like a little fancy stat thingy, and I want you to. I'll save the image, okay? Because Trevor, again, he's a smart guy in the program. I don't watch the AHL games. I'm not that guy. I got books to read, and I don't know, man. I'm falling behind in life, okay? And I'm watching way too much hockey already. All in all, though, Trevor, the guy's a nerd. He's going to an AHL game, even though he's got a family. And okay. Can you just I guess you can't even read this because it's so.
No, I've seen this before. It's all good.
Can you explain this to me? What does this mean?
Yeah, so this is this graph from JFresh is basically talking about how much stuff a player does in game, and the categories like shots, passes, transition plays, like so entering the blue line, pucks, O-zone puck recoveries, D-zone puck recoveries, and then that's the on puck stuff. The off puck stuff hits, forecheck pressure,
I sent you the wrong one. I sent you the wrong one. We did the wrong one. My bad.
Oh man, what are you doing? Anyways, Kiefer Sherwood does the most stuff of anyone in the NHL.
And we're talking about Kirill Kuryatsiev. Okay, my bad.
I was kind of wondering what the hell you were doing there.
I confused you there. Okay, so I need to again. I'll just read the stat. Okay, Cody's saying Kirill Kuryatsiev has been on the ice for 17 goals, 4 and 3 against and 5-on-5. In all situations, he's been on the ice just for 3 5-on-5 goals and 12 or 25 goals for. Either he has generational development or Malhotra is like, the best coach ever for him. But all in all, we talked about him briefly yesterday, and sorry for confusing you earlier. Not a producer. How good is this guy? And talk more about what generational development means.
Generational development?
Because I hear it. It's a 7th round pick, 6th round pick, whatever this guy is. Look at the Forsling thing. We brought up that little paraphrase from that Mooney article I read from like 8 years ago, talking about how somebody after the Canucks traded Forsling told Mooney like, "Yo, this guy just got way better. Canucks made his mistake, quote unquote." Can the same be said about Kirill?
Yeah, I mean, look, he's definitely got such poise to his game, right? Rarely makes a bad play, and it's interesting after the Abbotsford Canucks Game 3 win. Ty Mueller gave the game puck to the entire D-corps. And honestly, I thought the entire D-corps in Game 3 played a great game, save the Guillaume Brisebois absolute muffin up the middle that led to Charlotte's only goal of the game. That D-corps played really well. And Kirill Kuryatsiev, for being a rookie in the AHL, look, the rookies in Jonathan Lecker-Mackey, not really making much of an impact. Obviously, Aturatu out with injury and not really a rookie, but it is hard to make an impact as an AHL rookie and being as young as Kirill Kuryatsiev is. Again, I love his game. It's not really as physically dominant as Elias Pettersson. It's not as flashy as Victor Mancini, but he's just smart, cerebral, and solid. Really good at getting the puck up the ice, really good at getting in lanes. He's strong enough to, battle with the guys at the AHL level because we've talked about it as a physical league. He's been a really important piece of the puzzle there, important on the penalty kill. So look, he's got NHL potential written all over him. Generational development. I mean, hell, there are 7-rounders that make it. Maybe you can call it one a season of the 7th round that makes it. And, even at the time that he was picked by the Vancouver Canucks, I think I was on Next Misconduct talking about him being potentially the steal of the draft, right? Like his scoring profile in the OHL really suited that, right? He was, pushing a point a game and somehow slipped to the 7th round. So, he and the tape looked good on him, right? Good skating, lots to like about him. Maybe the fact he's 5'11" was the reason that he didn't get drafted as high or drafted higher than he should have. So, look, I'm a big fan of Kirill Kuryatsiev. And I think he's probably on a fast track to the NHL within the next 2 to 3 seasons.
Yeah, and I wonder if this sounds crazy. This sounds so crazy. But I wonder if that makes Tom Willander more expendable. That sounds crazy.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
It's so tough because most teams, the Canucks included, want to play guys on their strong side, right? Kirill Kuryatsiev is like left shot. So
I'm just thinking about the depth and again, specialty is a strong word. And I screwed up the pronunciation of Cole's tweet as well. It's he said generational deployment by Manny Malhotra. I was just reading fast and I scrambled after a mistake I made earlier. My bad. I'm not perfect, but I like the term generational development. Because how do you get better when you're 19 years old, 20 years old? How do you become Gustav Forsling? It's because you just get it. It all comes together. It didn't all come together, and that's why this guy falls down draft rankings or is not even in people's draft boards. But then he gets it at a certain time, and it all comes together, all parts of his game, and you just become cerebral. These guys. If we could see it with Forsling, we could see it with one more player. We see it all the time. We could see it in Kirill. People brag about this guy, and Trevor. What else does that mean? In all situations, he's been on the ice for just 3 5-on-5 goals against and 25-4. In the playoffs, what is that? That is ridiculous. You know what? You know who that sounds like? Quentin Hughes.
Gustav Forsling.
Just really, really I got, he locks it down. He plays defense and he creates situations where his team has the puck a lot more. All in all, though, Trevor, later this week, can we talk about Gustav Forsling? I know it's revisionist history, but there's because he's the McDavid stopper. So if the Canucks keep Gustav Forsling, we probably win the Stanley Cup last year. No, seriously, think
Yeah,
about it.
that's a dark avenue to go down, but
No, but you think it's the truth
right.
because this guy's a top, bro. He might be top 7 defenseman, man. Yo, he just a legend,
Yeah,
bro. He's
yeah,
too
I know.
good. Like David Stopper, dude.
And maybe Kirill Kudryavtsev is truly the next Gustav Forsling. All right, a couple minutes before we wrap up here on Locked On Canucks. Again, Game 4, Abbotsford Canucks, Charlotte Checkers tonight at the Abbotsford Center. I'll be in the house, sitting on press row, talking to the players after the game. Anything you want me to say to the players? Let me know in the comments here. Hit us up in the
Newton
Discord.
Pizza. Ask Archie Baines and Jajar about Newton Pizza.
Yeah, that's a must. That's a must.
Honestly, it's like just Brad Marchand has Dairy Queen. Do they have Newton Pizza? Come on, man.
Yeah, that was the easy question to ask. You're right, buddy. Yep. Also want to let people know that the the rest of the AHL finals will be televised on the NHL network. So yeah, not quite TSN or Sportsnet, but for any of you that have the NHL network, the games will be broadcast there. You can find them on Flow Hockey as well, and apparently on Hockey as well. And hey, man, it's the parent company of Locked On, Tegna Media. Is the one who's broadcasting the game on NHL Network. So one love to the overlords at Locked On Canucks. I'm excited for the game tonight, man. I'm probably more excited than Kyle Bound, who's going to be sitting there reading about how to improve his sex life.
Patrik Waugh. No, I'm reading about Patrik Waugh. I'm not
bad.
reading on how to improve my sex life because life's not all about reproduction. It's about getting better. Okay, so I'm reading about Patrik Waugh. Ironically, it's written by Patrik Waugh's dad. Trevor, how would your book sound if your dad made your autobiography?
There'd be a lot of missing gaps, man. There's a lot that my old man doesn't know about me. My dad's perspective might be kind of boring.
Dude, I want my kid to make the NHL so I could write his autobiography.
The book on Bobby Bowen, man. It's going to be coming out.
And Bobby Bowen, right winger for the Vancouver Canucks. Just everyone close your eyes. Again, think about this. This is when the Canucks are going to win the Stanley Cup. It's overtime, and Bobby Bowen is going down the left wing. He shoots, and he's a legend. Thank you, Bobby Bowen. Crowd goes nuts.
All right, let's get out of here. That was another episode of Locked On Canucks in the books. If you like what we're doing, again, go share with your friends. You can hit the like button, subscribe. It helps us out on the podcast side. You can go follow us, leave a 5-star review. We appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. Go Abbotsford, go. Rub that head for good luck, Kyle. There you go. I'll rub my head too. And we'll be back next time. That guy's Kyle Bowden. I'm Trevor Beggs, and you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.